I started meeting on Saturday, and I'd place my hands on pews, and I'd just start praying. I said, God, you know, you did it for other people. Why can't you do it for me, God? God, you did it for other people. Why can't you do it for me? And I just started praying. And ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. That church started growing. That church started growing. And I listen, I pastor Rock Springs Church, Milner, Georgia. Our zip code is EIEIO. The June bugs don't show up till August. You got to me too late. It's not location. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Milner, go to hell and take a left. Milner. And I started praying, and people started coming praying with me. And finally they came to me and they said, Pastor Benny, will you quit moving around when you preach? I said, what do you mean? They said, well, can you quit? I told my wife the other day, I said, honey, I've taken some cold medicine and it's made me hyper. She said, my goodness, how can you tell? But she said, but they said, can you quit moving so? I said, why do you want me to quit moving? They said, well, we can't get all the people in the building. And they're on the front porch. And when you move all over the platform, they say they can't see you. And sitting on the front porch, they can't see you. And I go to our board, Brother Marty, and I said, we need to build a new building. And, oh, we can't do that. I said, I talk about this in my book, Defy the Odds. If you don't have it, I pray you get a copy of it. I really do. It's the type of book, once you lay it down, it's hard to pick it back up. It's back there. Marty's bought a bunch of copies to give out, haven't you, Marty? Thank you, Marty, for doing that. I'm going to leave you in my wheel. All right. They said, we can't do that. We couldn't get the people in the building. Finally, I called a meeting with the leaders, and I said, we got to do something. I said, we've got two options. They said, what's the options? I said, well, we've got the marquee out front. I was in the earlier session. The guy was talking about when we used to advertise. Remember, our mode of advertisement was the sign. I had one of those signs. I said, I can go out on the marquee out front and put a message on the marquee. They said, what's the message you're going to put on the marquee? I said, here's the message. Go to hell, we're full. Or we can build. They said, maybe we need to build. And we did build. And we walked into that massive sanctuary. That massive sanctuary, Pastor Bailey. And my little wife said to me, this is amazing, Benny. She said, I wonder how we're going to fill it. I wonder how we're going to pay for it. I said, well, you know, Barbara, if I write the vision, I've got to underwrite the vision. I believe, Barbara, if it's God's will, it's God's bill. Then I went to that little church, and I got on my knees, and I started praying. And I said, you know, God, I don't know how I am going to pay for it. I said, God, I don't know how. Marty, I said, I don't know how I am going to fill it. And God spoke to my heart, and he said, you didn't feel the one you're in. You didn't feel the one you're in. Listen. Don't you ever underestimate, Mike, don't you ever underestimate what God wants to do with your life. Don't you, Pastor, don't you ever underestimate what God wants to do with your ministry. God has a history of taking nobodies God has a history of taking nobodies and just doing exploits, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you ever underestimate what God wants to do with your life.